All right, guys, so this is the last video for lesson number 4, and what I really want to do is to just help us unpack what's happening with the custom classes in the project section, right? So for me, this is the section I'm talking about is the My Portfolio. Originally, it said My Project, but what I wanted to do was kind of just give you like a high level understanding of how the custom CSS is working here. And let's just start from the top. So we've got let's find ourselves here in our HTML document. So we have the H3, right? So line 61 is my portfolio, and then we've got the paragraph. Here are some of my websites. And then we have this div class called the workbox and work. And so you might be thinking to yourself, like, what does this all mean? And once again, just emphasizing that someone else wrote this CSS. So we are investigating, we are discovering, we're tinkering, right, to help us understand what is going on in the CSS. And the reason why you want to at least get some level of understanding is, of course, if you want to make changes to that CSS. And I think some of the main changes that you may be interested in is maybe you don't like this sky blue color and you're thinking to yourself, how do I find a way to change that color? So that's what we're going to do in this video. I'm going to help you guys with figuring out how to change that color. So let's go ahead and get started. So the classes that I'm going to just touch on very quickly is this div class work, and then card, and then work image, and then work content. So we have to head over to the style.css file. Okay, so I always search in files because using keywords, because it's really hard. Obviously we're at line 185, so you don't want to be scrolling down to find the custom class. Use search to help you as much as possible. So here's the custom class, and just real high level, I mean, there's so many properties here, and not even I understand all these properties, but I don't need to necessarily understand them. If I want to change anything, then I have to, do that research, right? Or I can tinker to figure things out. But what I wanted to share with you guys is this .work class is associated with this grid here, right? So I want to think about it as like this kind of mini grid in this specific project section. So if we go back to, let me just go back to the HTML file real quick. So once again, this whole section is part of, so from line 60 to 99, right? That is that grid section. And you can see that the div ID is projects. And once you click on here, you can see where the closing tag is. So that's for the work dash hyphen box class, right? And so if we click here, here's the closing tag for the ID projects. Okay, so once again, it's just really, it's studying. That's, because first of all, I didn't write this and I'm not a CSS expert. And so really I'm just tinkering, I research and I build. And I make those changes to those desired changes to the style.css depending on what outcome I want. So once again, .work is responsible for that grid. Okay. And then class I mean, sorry, not class, card. So card custom class, it is, I want you guys to kind of think about it as these sort of individual um, individual cards. I mean, that's why he called it a card, because it's like an individual card, right? And within that card, that's where the content is sitting. So if we look at the HTML, and if we go here, we find the first card. And this is what I like to do is if I'm dealing with a certain class, I like to find out where the class, the div tag, the opening div tag is, and I like to find out where the closing div tag is so I can look at the content that's in between that div tag. So within my card, right? Within my card, and you notice how like when I highlight here, I think it's highlighting it right here too. So notice that the content sits in the card. And we've kind of heard this before where the content sits in the column. And so I want you to think about this as sort of a custom column, but it's of course different because it has a different style, it has different properties. But that same principle of you have rows, right? So in this case, it's sort of like a mini grid. And then you've got a bunch of cards or column like page structures, and then the content sits in the column. So these are really, and when you're looking at, because you're going to be, you know, when you are working on your WordPress site or you are working with other template sites, like this is going to be really common. You're not going to write the CSS most likely. I don't write my own custom CSS unless I need to. I usually just adapt what I can find like online, you know, through open source projects, and I import that into my project. And so it's really about just understanding what is going on. And you don't have to know all the details. That's one thing that I want to emphasize, is just like getting in there, tinkering, researching, and building. So what I want to do is let's go ahead and let's go back here. So now we know card is responsible for this. And if we click here, this is how the image tag, right? So all the images that are connected, right, to the card custom class, this is how they're going to be displayed. So one thing I want to show you here is that I'm going to change the height, right? So this is going to change the height of my image. So if I change that to 100%, you'll notice that right now my image is slightly distorted, right? But if I click on height, because the image that I imported, this image here, is actually a perfect circle. And so when I do that, I get that perfect circle back. So it just really depends. You guys can see like now I'm tinkering with the property, right? So I kind of like that. So now you'll notice that, the height does not, the text does not fit in the height. So let's go ahead and maybe we'll add on. So I went up here to card, and let's go ahead and add on a little more to the card. And it actually ended up distorting my image a little bit. So you can play around with the width to help you achieve that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it back to the original. So this is what I end up doing. I just end up tinkering and figuring it out. And this is really how I've learned to work with CSS and, with different projects. I think a lot of website developers will probably share sort of the same tips and tricks, is that you really learn through experience, and if you make mistakes, it's completely okay. One thing that is, I think, also a powerful tool is if you want to tinker around with a class. So I'm just going to copy that. I want to duplicate it here. And if I really want to play around with this and see where I can take it, I'll duplicate it and I'll comment out the original. So notice how I commented out the original, and now I can tinker as much as I want here. So just know that comments are really powerful when you are trying to make some changes. Okay, so we restored everything back to the way it was, right? When we first started. But I'm really not happy with this blue color. It just doesn't match. Let's just say that it doesn't match my brand. And so these colors, this is interesting, and this is kind of cool here, this is a global color that's been set as a variable in up higher in the CSS document. So let's go up higher. And this is what I mean by it's been set as a global color. And these are also like your global fonts. So everything is going to follow these global settings in your CSS document. And as you noticed, let me just go back down here. Oh, let's just use, there we go. So main decor color, so I'm just going to copy that. And main decor color is set right to that blue. Now, what if I want to change it to a different color? So what I can do is I can comment that out. Once again, I'm just experimenting. And then I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to paste it. And then I can explore, like, I'm just going to do white for now because it just seems really easy. And let's just run it. And this is the problem now, right? Is that the font color is white. So white probably wasn't like the best choice here. Let's go with maybe light blue. I don't know, for some, oh, light blue is that color. You can also like look up hex colors online. So you can just like look up any hex color website. Let's just play around with that for now. And that's funny. I didn't expect that to happen. Let's go ahead and let's turn it back to white. So there we are. Now the background color of the card is white, and that's an issue, right? Because the text color is also set to white, so not gonna work out too good for us. So let's go ahead and maybe we can change it to purple. That's kind of a fun color. So one more thing that I want to point out is, if you notice, there are other elements that are set to this main decor color, which right now is set to purple. And this HR tag, let's take a look at it, it's a theme break, right? So it's a thematic break in your HTML page, and that's represented by that purple line that you see right here. So if we look at the HTML, so let's go to the HTML here, and you see that right after that HR, that thematic break, it's right within the H3 tag, and that's why this happens here. But you might be thinking to yourself, Okay, so that means that there's custom CSS, there's CSS set to this HR tag. And so let's go ahead and look for the HR here. And here we go. And we can see here that it's set to that main decor color, once again, which is a global color that has been set within the project. So this is it. Like, you have everything you need to build out your portfolio site for your, as you embark on your digital freelancer journey. The main advice I have for you is tinker, right? Be open to tinkering. Use comments, right, to help you get more comfortable with tinkering. You're gonna need to do a lot of research, so be prepared to spend time online, and it's like build up that muscle and that really like that confidence to kind of get you over that hurdle. And of course, continue to build, because the only way to get better, especially at web development, is you just have to build. So you could watch like an endless amount of videos, and that will not help you to understand how to develop a website or how to add custom code to a website. It's really all about building, and that is the most exciting part of web development, web design, becoming that digital freelancer. It's all about building. So my message to you before we end this video is to finish out this portfolio template. You don't have to finish it before this particular course is over, but please reach out to me if you need help and if you want to have that one-on-one time, because this is the stuff that I really love to work on and problem solve. Don't forget to also be committing and pushing out to GitHub so that it actually updates your website. Let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, good luck, and I look forward to seeing your progress in this course and in the next courses. Aloha.